between 2005 and 2011, like, you were the guy. Like, you were the world champion basically the whole time, and I think everybody in this room agrees, John Cena was on Raw, but on SmackDown it was much more interesting with Edge. And I wanted to... we've always kind of, whenever we've done like a kind of rare, serious moment in one of these shows, we've never really wanted to delve into people's personal lives. It's not what we want to do. And I don't think anybody here really wants us to do that. So I'm not going to go into the details of you and Lita with the Matt Hardy situation. But what I want to ask you about that professionally is, this situation happens in your personal life with you and Lita. Matt Hardy, who's obviously the kind of, I guess, the victim in the situation, decides to make it public. And you're in this weird place where you're a heel, and you have these choices to make where you either have to embrace being this or you have to be apologetic. But then not only that, you then need to be side by side with Lita and work against Matt. And I don't think people really think about how hard that must have been for you to do all that. So I guess my question would be, when that all kicks off and it all goes public and stuff, is there a sort of like internal angst about it? How do you deal with that and turn those negatives into a positive where you can make a program together?
Well, that's exactly it. It's like, right, that was some bad decision making. So now what? Well, we're here. And you gotta try, and if there's a big pile of there's probably some positives in there somewhere. You just gotta wipe the away and try and find them. And this was one of those instances where it's like, okay, we're here, so now what do? You can, make the best of it, or try and do something from it, or let it consume you, and who knows where that goes. So we're like, all right, let's do this. We got to fully commit to this. And I was like, I will take this and try to become the most hated individual in the wrestling industry. I will fully commit to this, and I will fully embrace it and try and run with it. And hopefully Matt does the same on his side of it. That I can't control. What I can control is what I do going forward, the promos I cut, the place I need to get to on my promos. And because a lot of real emotions were involved, I finally realized where I needed to tap into on my promos to take them to a different place than they were. That was where I learned that. And I realized I don't actually have to be involved in a real situation to be able to get to that place. I can, for lack of a better term, become an actor and try and get to this emotional place without having to go through an emotional, turmoil. And that's really all we tried to do, is like, right, we're here, let's see what we can, where we can go from this, and how we can get some positives out of a situation that's always going to have negatives no matter what.
And everybody's moved on, so that and everybody's friends. It's fine. It's not like there's hatred anymore. But like, when you look back now, that program with Matt Hardy in 2005, where I remember watching Raw and he returns, and people are like, "What? He's back!" Are you proud of that program now? Like, when you look back with you and Matt, like, putting all that aside, because you're like, there was this real emotion to it. The internet was just coming out. People knew an element of the real story. Are you proud of being able to turn that into something?
Well, when you look back, it's kind of the precursor to social media. And Matt was one of the first guys to really kind of embrace what social media and the internet could be. So in that regard, it's one of the first instances of that. But more than anything else, I'm proud of the matches, because I knew what him and I did in tag team matches, and I knew what we could do together. And we both had the mentality is like, right, we're here. Man, we can blow the roof off of this place, especially now with this stuff that's happened. And so we'll have a cage match, and the one thing that we both knew is that no matter what happened, no matter what transpired, when we got in there, we trusted each other. So I said, Matt, you got to hit me with a leg drop off the top of the cage. And I trusted him to do that. Even with all of the bad blood and everything, I knew that Matt would get up there and he would hit a sweet-ass leg drop off the top of a cage, and it would be beautiful and safe and all of those things. And it was.
And, then we see the clips of you and John Cena in 2006, and you guys feuded for most of 2006. And that was the first time, really, in WWF or WWE where a babyface was booed vociferously, whether it was against Triple H at WrestleMania, and it felt like, as a fan, that you were really trying to make yourself the bad guy. Might not have been quite as easy for you in Toronto at Unforgiven, but you tried. Why do you think that people... we're 12 years later. Why do you think people didn't respond to John Cena in the way that they did for most other babyfaces? Was there a specific thing that maybe hurt it? Or why do you think why was that harder for you to try and gain the heel response than most times?
Here's what is interesting about that is, for the majority of it, I did get that response. And we did get a positive response for John. All the house shows, for the most part, John was a babyface. And I think that was a changing time with the internet, with all of these things, and kind of understanding the guy who's pushed at the top, there's decisions that are put into that, and there's merchandising, and there's worldwide markets and all of those things. So sometimes an audience doesn't want to be force-fed or believe they're being force-fed something. And John was also at a point in his career where he was still getting his wrestling chops. And I knew that there was more than, the fist drop and, the few things that he knew worked. I knew... Well, Hulk Hogan made a lot of money with 2 moves, I'm just saying. But I knew that John could go. He just needed... I don't know if it was the confidence to know he could, or force someone, or someone to force him outside of that to go, right, we can do some stuff. And I wanted to be the guy that he could do some stuff with.
Is it hard for you, though, because you were... I know I'm using a lot of insider terminology, but you were kind of like the cool heel, but even you were still trying to be hated. It wasn't like you were trying to go, cheer me or whatever. How hard was that for you? Because like you say, you were able to get it to a point where John Cena was cheered and you were booed, but not a lot of bad guys or heels or whatever were able to do that over the years. What was it that you were able to tap into that maybe others weren't able to?
Well, I think it was coming off of that whole, real life storyline, real life that became a storyline that people legitimately hated me. So there's that aspect of it. And I would always formulate my matches so that my character had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. You knew he could wrestle, but you didn't think he could wrestle that good. And that was by design. It was not my job to go out and out-wrestle babyfaces. My job was to go out there and make Batista look like the Incredible Hulk. And it was to make John Cena look like Superman. And I was the Joker. And I knew that was my job. And I would try and create scenarios that really solidified that. As a heel, I never wanted to be cheered. There was not one part of me that ever wanted. I wanted 100% of that audience to boo me. And if there was 1% that cheered me, I would try and go right after them and get them to boo me by the end of that match. And I remember, I think it was in Montreal. It might have been after the TLC match with Cena in Toronto. I came out and the place was like cheering me. And I don't even remember what I said, but it was one sentence. And I think I might have put down the Canadians or something. And within 10 seconds, it was like, whoa. I was like, yes, I got you. The one time that I didn't was in Toronto at the TLC. I gave in, man. I cracked, and that reaction and main eventing in my hometown for the World Championship in a TLC match, my God, it was I couldn't fight it. And I welled up and I was, ugh, and I came to the back, and again, Vince goes, "You're cracked." But he saw it, and he was right. The son of a bitch was right.
Did that mean a lot to you that you'd went through I'm not trying to say Adam Copeland was the victim of this situation for the last 12 months, but you'd done this whole 12 months, you'd really put your heart and soul into being this bad guy, and the fans are appreciating you for it. Was that part of the reason why it was quite hard to take in Toronto? Like, it's almost like your hard work had really paid off, you'd done everything you could, and it's finally this kind of validation.
I mean, part of it was that, but it was also Toronto that caused me to really take a different mentality, because I don't know if you remember this, but I worked SummerSlam. I was Intercontinental Champion. I hadn't been back to Toronto in like a year and a half. I've been out with a broken neck. My neck was fused. I come back. I'm wrestling Jericho, Batista, triple threat, Intercontinental title. Yeah, I come flying out, and they booed me. And I went, "You sons of bitches." My hometown's booing me. Right. And I came to the back and I was like, I need to turn heel, because what I'm doing, they're over it. So let's give them a reason then. And that's when kind of the psychotic, maniacal edge that just wants to be world champion, it was born on that night, which then, went from there into Rated R Superstar Edge.